Hey everybody, this here is Andrew Corns and Stuart Hultgren at Office Essentials. As our resident soccer hooligans, we're here to break down the 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup starting on Friday. So for this Women's World Cup, you've got 6 groups. Each group has 4 teams. That's 24 teams in the tournament. But we're going to have 16 teams coming through to the knockout stage. You might be wondering, how are we going to get to 16 teams with 6 groups and 24 teams? Well, it's a good question. You're going to have a winner from each group, so there's 6 teams right there. You're going to have a runner-up from each group, so they're up to 12. But then you've got 6 groups and 4 more teams that have to come through. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have the 4 best teams in terms of points that come through of those 6 groups. You're probably wondering, what is the group of death? Well, the group of death isn't always the same for everyone. It can vary, but traditionally the group of death is the one that's the hardest, top to bottom, in terms of rankings. Stuart and I think, have some differing opinions on what the group of death is in this particular tournament. For me, the group of death is Group D. It's headlined by England, who are ranked number 3 in the world, but it also has Japan. They're ranked number 7 in the world. They were in the final 4 years ago, and they also won 8 years ago. Then you've got Scotland, 20th ranked in the world, and at the tail end you have Argentina, they're ranked 37th, but still top to bottom. It's a pretty strong group, and for me, it's the group of death this year.
I would differ with Andrew on that and say I'd be looking at Group A as the group of death. You have the host country, France, surprisingly strong Norwegian team this year, South Korea, and Nigeria matched up. And while I don't know how Nigeria is going to perform necessarily, the other 3 have a good chance going through, with France being one of the favorites of this tournament.
So for me, of all the groups and the matches that I'm looking forward to the most, one that you're probably not thinking of is Group E. You've got Canada and the Netherlands. That's really an intriguing matchup. Canada's 5th ranked in the world. They're pretty strong, but the Netherlands, while 8th ranked in the world, are actually my dark horse this year, Stu. They came off the Euros in was it 2017, pardon me. They came off the Euros in 2017. They looked really strong. They're coming in, I think, hungry to do this in France, and I actually picked them to knock off Canada in that match in Group E.
Absolutely, and for me, I'm looking at June 20th. You have USA taking on Sweden in Group F, and that's the third match of that group for both teams. So going into that match, both teams should be sitting at 6 points with 2 wins apiece against Chile and Thailand. So the winner of that game, that match, will probably determine who wins Group F and matches up potentially with either France down the line or Germany down the line.
So coming out of the groups, when we get into the knockout rounds, Stu, I've got France coming out A, no real surprise. They're home country, host nation, and they're also 4th ranked in the world. Group B, I've got Germany. Spain might put up a little bit of a fight, but Germany's 2 in the world, and they're really strong. They're led by Jennifer Mrazin. She's a fantastic player. Keep your eye on her this year. And then in Group C, you've got Australia. Sam Kerr, one of the best forwards in the world. She's going to score a lot of goals in this tournament, so keep your eye on her. Any disagreement there, Stu?
No, I like your picks that you have right there, Andrew. For me, Group D, I have England. I mean, they've got a strong side, and I think they match up well against Japan, Scotland, and Argentina. Scotland and England's always a fun matchup, and Women's World Cup's going to be no different. So on June 9th, keep your eye out on that game. Group E, I have Netherlands making it through, like I'm sure you do as well. And then Group F, I think I'm going to go with the homer pick just a little bit and go with USA winning the group over Sweden. Though that June 20th game is going to be, I think, one of the best games of the tournament.
For me, the 4 teams that are coming through, I've got the Korean Republic out of Group A, I've got China out of Group B, I've got Italy coming out of Group C, and then out of Group E, I've got New Zealand. So those are my 4 teams that are coming through as 3rd in their group.
I think I agree with you on all those, except instead of New Zealand, I think Scotland's going to come through in Group D. Just matching up, I think they're all going to beat up on Argentina and take away some points there.
Now that we've gotten through the group stage, Stu, we're into the knockout round. At this point, as we all know, it's single elimination, so every game is important and vital. For me, there's 3 quarterfinal matches I'm looking forward to the way my bracket worked out. You've got France and the US. They're both going to win their group in all likelihood. That's a heavyweight matchup in the quarters. There's no denying it. The winner of that match is probably going through to the final, to be honest. Brazil, England, I also have in the quarters. Worth noting, it could be Marta's last run in the World Cup. England's also coming in really, really strong. Led by Phil Neville, their coach. He's been undefeated in their qualifying. And then for me, Germany and the Netherlands is a heavyweight matchup. 2 historical rivals. Germany's second in the world. Netherlands coming off a Euro win in 2017. That's got heavyweight potential for me.
Yeah, the quarterfinals, there's just so many good matchups there. As you mentioned, Phil Neville, if both England and US win their groups and win their quarterfinal matchups, they match up in the semifinals. So a rematch of the She Believes Cup, and England won that one, of course. So we can see, I mean, those are always, as an American, a lot of fun to watch England and the US tussle. If we focus on US team, as I'm sure most of us who are watching care the most about, we have some new familiar faces since the last cycle came around. One rising star that has been around for a little while now that's really exciting is Rose Lavelle, and she's a Cincinnati native. She kind of is that new midfielder spark role that Morgan Bryan took up in 2015, and Morgan Bryan actually has been struggling a lot with injuries, and she was a bit of a surprise inclusion in the roster that Coach Ellis picked. Other notables on here, we have Becky Sauerbrunn from our very own St. Louis.
Woo!
And she was making her 3rd World Cup appearance, and likely her final World Cup appearance as well. But she is still that rock on the back line. And instead of Julie Ertz playing as her partner in the center back role this World Cup, Julie has moved up to a midfield role, moving up a bit, and Tierna Davidson has kind of taken over that pairing role for now. But we'll see if Ellis moves that around a little bit. And another one name that was floated around as she was kind of the wonderkind, and it's hard to believe that she's 21 now. Mal Pugh made the roster, and she is, of course, made waves when she was 17, and she debuted for the U.S. national team. Wow. And now she's 4 years later at 21. Crazy how people age like that. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But a bit catching up, see some names that are familiar and wonder where some other names are. Of course, Abby Wambach retired last World Cup, and so did Shannon Fox. So a couple names dropped off there. Sydney Leroux is not part of the roster this year due to being pregnant with her 2nd child, with, of course, Dom Dwyer, another footballer out there. So such a cute couple.
Any women outside of the U.S. team you're kind of keeping your eye on, really to focus on?
I mean, more or less my focus has been U.S., tinted glasses and all that. But I always like watching Marta. I remember my personal favorite moment, I was telling you about this yesterday, in Women's World Cup history, as great as '99 was, and the 2015 World Cup final. In 2011, U.S. versus Brazil, Brazil was just killing it with time wasting and driving
Classic Brazil. Classic
crazy.
Brazil.
There was one moment, I don't remember the Brazilian player's name, but she got hurt, and she stayed down until they stretched her off the field, just wasting so much time. And as soon as she came back to her bench, she hopped off the stretcher and just got up as if nothing happened and got up. And that game was the sweetest justice as a soccer fan. And when Wambach put in a header to draw even and go to added time for the U.S. Actually, that might have happened during added time, but to keep the U.S. alive. Just such a sweet game.
Definitely a memory we as U.S. fans never forget. Yeah.
I wish I could say as an American that I'm really confident in Jill Ellis out there, but
So do you think we're going to do what we did 4 years ago and sort of overcome the coaching deficiencies to push through, or do you think that ultimately we succumb at some point due to that?
At some point, the U.S. will succumb to, whether it's in this World Cup or in the future. I mean, the rest of the world's been catching up to the U.S. on the women's side of the game for decades now, and it has felt under Jill Ellis's tenure that we have won despite her, not because of her sometimes. It's, of course, a really weird thing to say coming off a World Cup victory. I mean, how can you criticize a coach who won us the World Cup, our third star? So, but I think a lot of U.S. fans share that unease around Jill Ellis. That I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
For that point alone, that's why I have France ultimately taking out the U.S. I think for as good as the U.S. is, Alex Morgan's a fantastic player. I think the French, top to bottom, really strong. Most of their players coming from Lyon, the best club in the world right now. So keep your eyes on that France-U.S. quarterfinal for sure.